and have the patience to listen. One second.
Very sad and very tragic
Mr. Arora,
events.
I don't care about condemnations. My point is action. First point is that there are a lot of people out there who are discriminating and being allowed to discriminate on the basis of skin color. Second, that American law enforcement agencies act. American law enforcement agencies act on the basis. American law enforcement agencies act on the basis of white superiority.
We expect those people to be prosecuted.
And the American law enforcement agencies, American law enforcement agencies are allowed to act on the basis of white superiority and hush up racist attacks by justifying them. And that for me is intolerable. Maroof Raza opens up the debate
and
as well from Bangalore
anybody
this evening.
that condemns that more than the President of the United States.
Does. Maroof, why such reluctance to accept racism per se? Yes, Maroof.
Arnab, I've patiently heard, especially the two defendants of the American point of view for the last 30 minutes, and in many ways they're defending the indefensible, because primarily what has come, if you look at it objectively, America, particularly in the aftermath of 9/11, has become, sir, please hear me out. America in the aftermath of 9/11 has become a rather paranoid society. And the state apparatus in America has encouraged that paranoia because, apart from various other reasons, it gives them greater financial and legal clout to expand their brief. And let me tell you, let me give you three other incidents, Arnab, other than the list you've quoted. There was the recent issue between the policeman and the professor, which finally had to be resolved by the President of the United States over a breakfast and a coffee meeting, because the professor was harassed by a white policeman yes, okay, there's one. There's the other issue that I want to bring out, that in the aftermath of 9/11, a number of Sikhs, immigrants, received harassment because they had beards and turbans and they looked like, apparently, to the jinx, to their jinx, and to the narrow-minded Americans, they looked like Bin Laden. So they thought they were some kind of Al-Qaeda followers. And America, unfortunately, has also had attacks in the previous years of 9/11. I remember in March, April 1995, when I was in the United States, there was the case of the Oklahoma bomber who went berserk. So, while you target immigrants, the bulk of the attacks in your society come from white Anglo-Saxon Americans. And you've never been able to discipline them enough. So please don't defend the indefensible. America is a land of immigrants. America has gone paranoid. And America does not have the ability to stand. Sir, please hear me out. America does not hold the, Mr. Batra and Mr. Kush, America does not hold the high ground morally anymore. So please don't pontificate, sort your own house.
The person who just said that America's standards are higher, should be higher as a superpower in the world.
The President of the United States is making statements on issues which he cannot handle at home because he's lost the political clout, but he is still a player in foreign policy, and therefore he pontificates to us, all societies. And as Mr. Kohli rightly brought out, that America, we expect higher standards. We expect higher standards from the United States.
No idea
if
what
you cannot
saying,
maintain
sir.
higher standards, please don't pontificate.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I have absolutely clear idea. Please don't defend the indefensible, because you are pontificating when your house is not in order.
That's a very nice tagline that you have here, but it's not an indefensible issue. It's not an indefensible issue.
I applaud your motives,
you have the President of the United States
one second, Mr. Batra and Mr. Arora, don't speak together one at a time.
To try and have peaceful societies is absolutely not his act of being sanctimonious in any kind of way.
I'll tell you what is...
Asking for a world to be operating in a more peaceful way does not mean that he's saying that all of the issues that we have at home are resolved. They're not. There are certainly issues here in our own society. But that doesn't mean that asking other countries to also try and hold themselves to a higher standard is a bad thing.
You are very loyal to the United States of America. Congratulations for that. But the fact is, all I'm saying is that I would like to remind you of, and Mr. Batra, of what President Obama promised. America will do some soul searching, he said, after 6 people were shot dead in the horrific Gurdwara shooting in Oak Creek, Wisconsin on August 2012. John Prabhudoss needs to come into the debate as well. I'm saying today, where has that been forgotten? You said there'll be soul searching. Now, 3 years after that, 1 minute, 1 second, Ravi Batra, my question is 3 years after that, an Indian citizen, victim of brutal racist violence, and openly racist threat on a temple in Seattle, where is the soul searching? Why not an admission of racism? Are you embarrassed?
Wait a minute. Madison, Suresh Bhai event, there's a parallel federal investigation.
Is there an admission of racism? Is there an admission of racism?
Of course.
Is there
why do you think there's a parallel investigation?
I'm sorry, but what is the investigation required to prove that it's
That's why. That's why I said to you.
Tell me one government official. Now, Mr. Batra, you're really on the wrong foot on this one. You tell me, give me one instance give me one instance where what happened in Madison has been accepted to be an act of racism. I will rest my case. Tell me one person who has said this particular incident, this particular case, 1 second, not malicious harassment, but racism. Tell me, has it been acknowledged as an act of racism?
The mayor of Madison is missing in action. Okay, he's hiding behind the petticoats of Police Chief Larry Muncie, and I don't like it. I'm waiting for Governor Bentley of Alabama, which has a very storied past of racism and bigotry, to speak up and appoint a special prosecutor. So I'm waiting for that. But that does not mean that America is racist. Yes, we have some who are racist, just like everywhere else in the world, but we've got the tools to correct it. However, again, I say to you, if you don't know what you're doing in court, like in a kitchen, you're going to burn the dish.
Maroof.
And the lawsuit filed is not up to standard.
Mr. Kush.
That's Mr. Batra.
Mr. Kush, there is enough evidence. Mr. Batra, there is enough evidence that things are not in order, and America has lost the moral high ground to pontificate. We are not saying everything is wrong in America. I still have great affection for the average American people. They're pretty oblivious to what is happening. But it's the indifference. It is the indifference that is worrying, Mr. Batra, and it is the indifference that the establishment is exhibiting to a case which can become a precedent right across America if it is not contained now. And that's the central point we're trying to drive home. So don't defend what has gone wrong. Tell us how you can get it right.
The central point we are driving home, and I'd like to get John Prabhudoss, who hasn't spoken from Washington yet. The central point we are driving home, John, is that America has gone from the likes of Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks being activists for civil rights for all in America to the 21st century, when America isn't even willing to acknowledge they have a problem plaguing them, and that problem is called racism.
I don't know why there's an assumption that it hasn't been acknowledged.
They are not even willing to acknowledge. If we look at social media immediately, they are not even willing to acknowledge that what has happened is an act of racism. From all walks of life. Why so?
From all backgrounds.
Why so? Why is there not an admission that this is an act of racism? Yes, John.
There is an admission. You've missed it.
There is no. Tell me where there has been an official admission. Show me one official admission.
All over the place.
Show me one official admission.
There's not a single American that I've spoken to that has in some way not condemned
you are not aware of the facts. The fact is, this has all been classified as malicious violence,
I am absolutely aware of the facts. These are not facts that suit your TV program, and for that reason, you choose to ignore them.
Arora, you should be aware of the facts. I'm sorry to have to tell you this. A Congress has defined a hate crime as a criminal offense against a person or property motivated where there is a bias against race, religion, disability, ethnic origin, or sexual orientation. In this case, race, religion, and ethnic origin. One second, Mr. Arora, listen to me.
Let Arnab finish.
Three of the 5 characteristics of what is a hate crime as per a criminal offense defined by the US Congress fall under the category of the incidents in Seattle and in Madison. Why is there not then an acknowledgement? I mean, if you have a law passed and acknowledged by the US Congress, when you know that race, religion, and ethnic origin are 3 factors, both in Seattle and in Madison, which are applicable, why are you not willing to apply it? I don't understand why you're not willing to apply it.
Arnab,
Yes, John.
You're
John wants to come in. John Prabhudoss.
The wrong people.
John Prabhudoss from Washington. Sorry, John. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have an audio line with you. John, I'm not getting the audio line. Ravi Batra, would you like to answer that?
Yes, I do. Look, the racism that exists in Madison Police Department. The mayor of Madison needs to admit it or get out of town, get out of Dodge. The governor of Alabama, who has a very sorry history of that state with the horrible racism that existed in Alabama, he's got a job to do, and he hasn't done it yet. Meeting the Indian Consul General doesn't do it, okay? The police chief meeting the Indian Consul General doesn't do it. That's not the answer. The answer is people have to be held accountable when they have a policy and practice of racism. A mere act of racism is like a scratch on the skin.
Sir, this is...
Policy and practice is like metastasized cancer.
No, I don't think... I'm sorry.
You have to separate the two.
Ravi, what is the point? We are on a larger point here today. And it's not just about
you
Indians,
want America to be as good as its ideal. I agree with you.
No, my point is, what is the point of Lady Liberty standing tall in New York in a show of America's liberty to the world? What is the point of Lady Liberty standing tall in New York as proof of America's liberty to the world when the fact is that there are Indians and people of Indian origin and people in your country are not free, Nalin. And that's the point, not free to practice the religion of their choice without bearing the brunt of hate and racism and ridicule. Nalin Kohli, we are on a broader point here. I don't know why we're not getting across
2 points.
Participants from New York and Washington.
I want to add to that, Mr. Goswami. Mr. Goswami, I want to add to it. What you see, the point here is there is no, whether it's the case of Suresh Bhai Patel or whether it's the Mandir issue, in either case there's no provocation from the people who have suffered it. In Suresh Bhai's case, he's walking, he couldn't communicate, and as you said, he's used as an object to display something which has caused him grievous hurt. Could have taken his life. In the case of the Mandir, again, there is no way of any interference or anything that would say, okay, there was a reaction. These are therefore, when it comes without any reaction, the question of racism is direct. And then as Mr. Batra was saying, when you do not have the acknowledgement of it, and he himself is condemning it, when you don't have the acknowledgement of it, obviously the debate will get further heightened. You can't ignore it.
Sure.
Why isn't there an acknowledgement?
But I welcome the call for official acknowledgement. I myself am making the same call.
But there is no official acknowledgement.
And by the way,
we've been talking about this for 5 days.
By the way, the only issue I have is this. I absolutely accept the proposition that the United States Constitution, which is why we have a roadmap in our country, is why we are the best nation on earth. Now, in practice, we have some things that go wrong, but we have the tools to fix it.
You see, I don't know what tools you have to fix it. Mr. Batra, Nalin is responsible.
Well, you have to know what you're doing.
Before Nalin comes in, first of all, stop this whole,
just a sentence.
We are the best country in the world, kind of, that whole, I don't know. It's
no, it is.
Mr. Batra, Mr. Batra, actually, my comment was on that.
Mr. Batra, on facts
Mr. Goswami.
On facts tonight, Nalin is responding.
Mr. Goswami.
Yeah, Nalin, please, go ahead. Nalin.
Mr. Goswami, my point is very simple. If you believe you are the best nation in the world, you are entitled to. Everyone has a right to believe how good they are. However, when you are the best, let's see the best practice emerge. Let's see justice fast. Let's see this get over with.
Absolutely.
And therefore, you will be able to walk that talk, which is the best nation in the world, as you say.
I agree with you.
But Ravi Batra, how can...
the Indian American community... So the Indian American community in Madison should have refused to meet Larry Muncy and should have said to the mayor, fire the bum, okay? But they went and met him. The Indian Consul General went to meet him. How dare he give him the audience? Now, if you don't know what you're doing, don't expect change.
Well, that's your problem, Mr. Batra. I'm asking you.
Mr. Batra, that's an interesting point you're raising.
1 second.
You are putting it down more as an advocate, not as a sovereign nation's Counsel General, who is conveying also a point of view of the government. That's different. I mean, if the Counsel General cannot officially state a stand, and by the way, back here, we've said it. I mean, the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs has said so. Just let me finish my point. Therefore, what I'm only trying to say is, it is not going in terms. Maybe No. Therefore, we can only raise the point, flag the point, which the ministry has done, provide help to the person who's the victim, provide help to the victim, and the third is expect the highest standards, in your words, from, as you say, the best nation in the world.
What high standards, Nalin Kohli? The fact is, one second, what high standards? Now, Aryama Sundaram, I'd like you to come back to the debate. I keep hearing this, we are the best nation in the world, we are the greatest democracy in the world, we have a great history, we have liberty, we have the First Amendment. I mean, for God's sake, the First Amendment has become redundant in America today. I'll tell you why it's become redundant, because for more than 24 hours after the defacing of a Hindu temple wall and a school on grounds of religion, your law enforcement authorities and agencies have not been able to make an arrest.
You know, it takes
time. You can't blame the Indian government
the statement.
For everything. Yes, 5 more minutes to the debate. Aryama Sundaram, please. Mr. Sundaram.
Arnab, I think the very statement, we're the best nation in the world, perhaps spells everything as to why there is intolerance for others. Maybe it comes from that innate feeling. The fact, like I've been saying time and again, on which I have not found an answer. I do not find fault with the Indians or find fault with the American citizen. I find fault with the establishment, because I find that in the United States, it's not only against foreigners, it's even against black Americans, it's against ethnic Americans. Yes. We have law enforcement agencies time and again behaving with them in a very high-handed manner, which they do not do with the white population. And what really is the worrying factor is that when law enforcement agencies themselves practice racism, how can a country begin to talk about intolerance in other countries?
Forgive me. The mere fact that we may have instances of intolerance in America does not mean that America loses the right, which it's had from its birth, to talk about mutual respect. You know, Pope Francis has the right answer to mutual respect for religion, because the United States Constitution does not apply to every nation on earth. So he's got the right answer, which is don't insult another person's faith. Okay? I completely agree with that. You know, there is something more to this conversation that we're having, and it must not be about finger pointing. It must be about how do we, as humanity, get to a better place.
Maroof's coming into the debate. At the same time, we must acknowledge that these incidents reinforce the fact that no matter how high a regard Barack Obama has for Martin Luther King and his ideals, you look at the statistics of what his two-term tenure has done, you know, you'd see the kind of incidents. I have the figures with me of FBI incidents of hate crime, you know, anti-black, anti-American Indian, anti-Alaskan, anti-Asian, anti-multiple races, anti-Jewish, anti-Islamic, anti-other religions, anti-multiple religions.
That's a very big deal.
Anti-Hindu, anti-Sikh. And still you say there's no racism in America.
Elected Barack Obama twice.
You just need to compare, sir.
That's a very big deal.
Sir, you need to compare two statistics in America. You need to look at anti-white on the one side and anti-everybody else on the other. You will find 6 times the amount of racist violence against people who are not white, which means in percentage terms, the possibility of a non-white man being the subject of a hate attack in America is maybe 20 to 30 times that of a white man. That, sir, fundamentally can only be described by one word, and that word begins with R. It's racism. Maroof Raza comes into the debate. We are not seeing an acceptance, Maroof, on this debate so far.
If one person in America
is coming in. Maroof is coming in.
It's one too many.
Maroof is coming into the debate.
It's one too many. Mr. Batra, please. I think Arnab's really reinforced his point about statistics, but let's look at it with a little cool head. One is your repeated assertion, which has been dismissed by everybody else from the Indian side of the panel, that you're the best country in the world. Let me remind you what I said to you last week, that when Gandhiji was asked, what do you think of Western civilization? Gandhiji said, it will be a good idea. I think you need to go back to the drawing board to some extent. One. Point two. What I wish to re-emphasize again and again, that one of the reasons for downfall of societies and civilizations is when you begin to take yourself too seriously. You should become a little more introspective, and you should seriously correct, because it's these statistics which really, if you look at it dispassionately, conveys a trend that America is a society that borders on paranoia. America's security apparatus, hear me out, sir, I didn't interfere when you were speaking. America's police and security apparatus does have knee-jerk reacting when it does deal with non-white population in America, and very often they've gone over the top. This has also led to a certain amount of rioting in your society. So I think everything that you hold dear as an immigrant who has become successful in America, believe me, unfortunately, it might unravel in front of you if you do not suggest corrective measures. We are not saying we are perfect. We are not saying we are the best. But I think it is really a matter of concern to us that when Indians who go and make themselves peacefully successful in the United States are not going to be able to feel freedom, let me remind you, freedom is about your ability to walk the streets without being beaten up. And if you can't have that, then there is something that you need to do soul searching about.
I agree with that. And the
I accept your comment as a gift, and I will tell you that we in America need to be as good as our ideals, and we have work to do.
I think that's a good starting point. But Nalin Kohli, finally, everyone's asking, why is the government not putting enough pressure? We're supposed to have a special relationship with America, right? We're supposed to have a special relationship with America. Where's the special relationship now?
Arnab, the Indian American community should have been smart enough not to give Larry Muncy an audience.
No, 1 second.
The Indian Consul General
I'm asking my government,
should not have gone.
I am asking the representative of the BJP whether our government is doing enough to exert the diplomatic pressure in this case. Americans understand pressure, Nalin Kohli.
I am sure they are.
Americans understand pressure. I'm sure they are. Are we doing the tough talk with the Americans on this? All over India, people are talking about it. Nalin Kohli.
Well, I can't specifically say what exactly is being spoken because I'm not in the government or that department, but what is clear is that Mr. Akrabuddin, as the spokesperson, spoke on it 24 hours, within 24 hours, within minutes actually. You had the Consul General go down there. You've seen the message of the Prime Minister today. So the Government of India's message is going clear, and it will be followed till the very logical end.
Well, I think that's a very diplomatic comment that you've made here. We expect more, Mr. Kohli. Aryama Sundaram, Ravi Batra, Maroof Raza, thank you for joining me on that debate. And the question goes once again, how much will it take for America, for the state governments, as well as for the federal government to accept that what has happened to Suresh Patel and what has happened in Seattle is nothing but racism? Thank you for joining me on debate number 1 on the News Hour tonight.